The judges have no authority.
The implication of somebody being a false prophet, what is that implication? According to Deuteronomy 13 and 18, they have to be put to death. That is a very severe punishment, and something which is very much the scope of a judge. If somebody brings somebody to
but that's
court,
fine.
This person is claiming to be a prophet.
But Josh,
is he true or false?
Josh,
if he's false, then he's going to be put to death.
Josh, what we've said is you've said it yourself, that all of the conditions that you've said have to be in place does not disqualify the Prophet Muhammad and puts him into serious contention for prophethood. So that
I said that what puts him into contention is the fact that he said things that came true.
Yes.
We have still not got past the disloyalty thing. We still haven't read.
No, I understand, but the fact that you're even having this discussion with me and you're not deferring it to a judge indicates that you think and you know that it's not for just the judges, it's for all of us.
It's not just
because then you would be talking out of turn. If you believe, if you believed that the matter was for judges to decide, and you're here talking to me about whether or not the law is applicable, or that the criterion has been met or not been met, and you've had these conversations before and you keep coming to Speaker's Corner, then unless you're a judge, you're speaking out of turn.
No, that's not the case.
Of course it's the case.
Because I'm not issuing any judgment here. I'm not issuing any legal, anything which has legal
It's not a matter of judgment, right?
It is, though. It's a matter of legal implications.
It has no.
There's a very clear legal implication if somebody's a true or false prophet.
Can a judge get things wrong?
Judges can get things wrong.
Good. So if a judge decides,
but God has made the system.
No, but if the judge decides, and this is where maybe your verses come in handy, because the judges have also been attacked in the Bible. Yeah. If the judges, So if the judges get things wrong and you follow them, what happens?
And you follow them, then if they've got it wrong and you follow them, then you've got nothing. Then God has nothing against you.
No. In matters to do with revelation.
Yes.
So hold on. Let me be clear.
Yes.
If a judge says to you that we should do a practice which is a pagan practice, and they've got it wrong, and you follow them in this, they tell you to worship another god.
Well, there's actually laws about that in Leviticus.
No, but
it talks about that specifically.
And what's the answer?
The answer is that an offering has to be brought when it's realized that a mistake has been made.
No. If the judge...
if the judge made a mistake.
If the judge tells you to do something which goes against the first commandment, the second commandment.
Yes.
Okay, so is that conceivable?
It's conceivable.
Excellent. So if that's conceivable, if the judge gets it wrong and you follow him on something which will render you a polytheist, do you get punished for that, for being a polytheist?
There is a degree of punishment. I'm being told I'm supposed to be...
No, but this is important. Don't leave now, because the Quran makes this... I agree with you. Listen. Josh, listen.
Yes.
We agree on one point. On matters to do with law, if you follow the judge, you're alleviated from the punishment. We also believe that. Because there's a very similar verse in the Quran. Listen, where you just said that, in matters of controversy, there's a very similar verse. It goes like this. وَإِذَا جَاءُكُم بِأَمْرٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْنِ أَوْ الْخَوْفِ أَذَاعُوا بِهِ. Listen. وَلَوْ رَدُّوهُ إِلَى الرَّسُولِ وَإِلَى أُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْهُمْ لَعَلِمَهُ الَّذِينَ يَسْتَنبِطُونَهُ مِنْهُمْ. That if they come with you with a controversial matter or a matter of fear and safety, they will announce it. But had they returned it to the Prophet and to the people who know how to extrapolate among them, then they would have known how to extrapolate it. And that's why the Quran says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. When you go and follow a jurisprudential ruling of a judge, you're alleviated, I agree. But not in matters which relate to ultimate salvation. Not in matters of polytheism. Not in matters of this is a prophet or not. And what's the evidence of that? The evidence of that is that if a judge, as we've said, calls you to polytheism, calls you to worship Jesus, if a judge, a Jewish judge says, worship Jesus Christ, and you worship him, you will now be sinful completely, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. That's why I say, if a judge says, don't follow a prophet which has a revelation, which his authority is higher than the judge, then the same thing should apply. And one more thing, Josh, one more thing.
Yes.
The Quran actually mentions this. It says, يَوْمَ يَتَبَرَّأَ الَّذِينَ اتُّبِعُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوا وَرَأَوْا الْعَذَابَ وَتَقَطَّعَ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابِ. That the day where the people who have been following, the followers, the blind followers, the sheep, they will disassociate, or the followed will be they will disassociate from the followers, and then the punishment will be shown. It's in these matters. So I say to you, be careful. And this goes back to they took their priests and rabbis as gods beside God, because they've made permissible what's not permissible. That if you make your faith about following judges on issues to do with salvific potential, then what you're doing is no greater, is no better, than what polytheists do. There must be an aspect of you being able to distinguish by yourself, like you have, and you said this more than once. The Prophet is a contender, at least based on the criterion of the Bible. You said it. That you must be able to make that decision independently. You have to, and this is what the Quran says this. But Josh, listen, I don't want to be preaching to you, but the Quran says this. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمُ اتَّبَعُوا مَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ, when they said to them, follow what God has set down, قَالُوا بَلْ نَتَّبَعُوا مَا أَلْفَيْنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاؤُنَا, they say, no, we're just going to follow what our predecessors came with. وَلَوْ كَانَ آبَاؤُهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ شَيْءٍ وَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. Even if their predecessors... Yeah. So what I'm saying is, you must extract yourself from the idea that if it's the judges that make a decision about your life.
Mohammed,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
we need to wrap up.
Right, go ahead.
We need to go. So
Sorry,
can we continue this conversation next week?
Of course.
I'd very much like to continue. We can set a time. We'll continue next week on Sunday. If you want to meet me at 3:30.
Well, Aaron's got my number. We'll get in contact and stuff. You've got Aaron's number, yeah?
I have Yoel's number. I have Ali Dawa's number as well.
All right, so we'll sort it. Yeah.
Alright, cool.
We'll sort it. Thank you, my friend. Yeah, take care. Yeah. Think about what I've said. Think about what I said as well, my friend. Yeah. See you later. What?
Yeah, well.
What's happening? Huh?
All right, Josh. See you
next week.
Next time, inshallah.
All right.
Do you want to wrap up? You okay? Do you want to summarize, or you okay?
No, I'm all right. There's a lot of cameras here. That was a very interesting discussion. And no,
They still stick to the Masoretic text, which is the 10th century, isn't it?
yeah. Tell us more.
I mean, I think it would be best if Josh was here, otherwise he'll tell me. He's speaking when he's gone.
Yeah, I agree.
He said he'll come back next Sunday.
Let's talk when he's here, so it doesn't seem like we're doing anything underhandedly.
Exactly.
And hopefully you guys have benefited from it. I know it was a long one, but you learn a lot from these kind of ones. Yeah. All right, come and take these microphones. Come and take them. Well, you're in training now.
No. To become a rabbi, you need a lot more knowledge than I do.
Right. You're being humble. I'm joking. I'm sure it's true. Right. Let's go to Isaiah 42.
Yeah.
And let's read it out. I mean,
Yeah,
let's,
sure.
Yeah.
Is that the Torah?
This is the Tanakh.
Before we get to Isaiah 42,
Yes.
I want to give you another verse
Okay.
to think about first. Okay. I want you to go to Deuteronomy
Chapter 18.
18, but not verse 18.
Verse 15.
No, verse 21. Let's go to verse 21. I want you to go to Deuteronomy 18, 21, okay? And I want you to read it out for me, because this one's an interesting one. I found this one quite interesting myself.
Sure.
Huh? What are you reading from? What is this translation?
This is the JPS translation.
So tell us what that is.
The JPS is the Jewish Publication Society. It's just a translation from the Hebrew.
How well accepted is this within your circles?
I mean, practically speaking, we don't have like a translation which we say this is a very good translation. We just have, we usually only read from the Hebrew and translate.
Yeah.
We use it for like a difficult word. We use the English. So like a less common word. We might go to the English to see, what does that mean? Or maybe if the commentary is not so easy to understand.
Let's go to Deuteronomy 18:21.
What's the debate about?
I'll speak to you later. I'm just going to pardon?
What's the debate? What are you?
We're just talking about prophecies about the Prophet Muhammad in the Old Testament.
You're Muslim, man.
Huh?
You're Muslim.
I'm Muslim, yes.
Verse 21. It says, "V'chiso ma'al ben vovecha, eicha meidach es hadovar asher lo diberu Adonai." And should you ask yourselves, how can we know that the oracle is not spoken by the Lord?
Keep going.
Verse 22. Asher yidaber hanovi b'shem Adonai v'lo yichye hadovar v'lo yovo hu hadovar asher lo diberu Adonai v'zodon diberu hanovi lo sogur mimenu. If the prophet speaks in the name of the Lord and the oracle does not come true, that oracle was not spoken by the Lord. The prophet has uttered it presumptuously.
Beautiful.
Do not stand in dread of him.
This is something I think we need to focus on a little bit before we continue.
Yeah, sure.
Now, what I understand from these verses, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's giving us a criterion for how do we establish or how do we know whether there's a true prophet or a false prophet.
That is true.
And it's saying that if that prophet makes predictions, and this is referred to as oracle here,
Yes.
makes predictions of the future,
Yeah.
and they come to be true, they materialize, then that is an indication that they are true prophets.
It does not actually say that. What it
Well,
does say,
I'm
however,
paraphrasing. Go ahead.
what it does say
Yeah.
is that if a prophet, if the oracle does not come true, then he is not a true prophet.
Yeah, so-
it does not say, however,
Right, right.
that if it does come true, that means that he is a true prophet.
No, but that is the inferred, because if you look,
Not necessarily.
no, it can be, because let me tell you why, right? If I say, in this case, if it's saying it does not come true, then this disqualifies them from prophethood, right? Are you with me?
Yeah, it's in the tissue.
It disqualifies them from prophethood
Yeah.
if they say that something's going to happen and it doesn't come true. So they're not disqualified from prophethood if they say something's going to come true and it does come true, correct?
They're not yeah, right. That's not.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Now we have to look at the figure of Muhammad,
Right.
because the first thing I want to present to you is the following. Yeah, he made a series of prophecies.
Yes.
Okay, I mean the Quran makes a series of prophecies.
Yes.
Okay, are you aware of those prophecies?
No, I'm not.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to present to you some of those prophecies in the Quran and in the Hadith, and I want you to react to those things. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So
Before you do so,
Yeah.
I make an extra point that is important to the discussion,
yes.
which is that there are other conditions that have been laid down in Deuteronomy chapters 13 and 18.
Let's read them. Just yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
About the issue of what is a false prophet. So if you look to chapter 13,
Yes.
we start from verse 2.
Yes.
It says as follows: If there appears, I'll read in Hebrew.
Now just read it in English for now.
If there appears among you a prophet or a dream diviner, and he gives you a sign or a portent, saying, "Let us follow and worship another god, whom you have not experienced,"
Yes.
even if the sign or portent that he named so to you comes true, do not heed the words of that prophet or that dream diviner, for the Lord your God is testing you to see whether you really love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul.
Right. So we've got another condition,
Yes.
which is that it must be that prophet must call to the worship of one God.
No, it doesn't say of one God. It says
Okay,
the gods
well-
that you have experienced.
And are the gods that the Jewish people experience more than one?
No.
So it's one God, right?
Yes, it is one
Great,
God.
great. So
It's the God that we experienced at
okay,
Sinai.
fine. But that God we're talking about is the one God of Moses, right?
Yes, indeed.
Correct. So if that prophet comes and calls to a God other than the God of Moses, then he's disqualified.
Indeed.
So we have two aspects of disqualification. One is that if this prophet calls to a God other than the God of Moses, then he's disqualified. Two is if he makes prophecies which don't materialize, then he's disqualified,
Yes.
correct? All right, is there any other conditions that you know of?
Let's have a look. So there's also an inference here. If we continue in chapter 13,
Yep.
go to verse 6. It
Yes,
says,
yes.
As for that prophet or dream diviner, he shall be put to death. Why? For he urged disloyalty to the Lord your God, who freed you from the land of Egypt, and who redeemed you from the house of bondage, to make you stray from the path that the Lord your God commanded you to follow. Thus he will sweep out evil from the midst. So we can imply from this that another thing that a false prophet does is he urges disloyalty to the Lord your God.
Excellent. So if the opposite, then if he urges loyalty to the God of Moses, then he is not disqualified, correct?
Right. Urging loyalty does not disqualify you.
Yes.
Rather, urging disloyalty
Disqualifies.
does disqualify you.
Excellent. Now, with this, we can both agree there are many claimants to prophecy that have come in history after Moses that will be instantly disqualified, correct? Like, for example, Guru Nanak.
Yes.
Would you accept he's disqualified?
Indeed.
Let's say,
Siddhartha Gautama, disqualified.
sorry? Yes, okay. And so on.
Joseph Smith,
Disqualified. Are you with me?
Yeah,
Paul disqualified.
Exactly.
Me and you are on the same page right now, aren't we? Now we have to go.
Disqualified.
No, we wouldn't say this because
I know.
Jesus, according to the Pauline understanding, is disqualified. But Jesus, according to the Islamic understanding, is not. And that's why we have to go back to this question. The question is, first of all, did the Prophet Muhammad call to the God of Moses, to worshipping the God of Moses? Yes or no?
Well, that's what we're going to have to see. Does he call to?
Well, I mean, you tell me. You've read the Quran, right?
I've read part of it, not so much.
All right. So this is extremely explicitly clear in the Quran that is the case. In fact, the whole story of Moses is narrated in many different parts of the Quran, 70 in fact. His name is mentioned 70 times, Moses, Musa.
Yes, I've heard of that.
Right, so he's mentioned, and in fact, a very similar narrative, although the particulars are different,
Yes.
are mentioned, okay?
And the number of daughters by the well in Midian.
These are details that don't relate to our criterion of disqualification.
Giving an example of a difference.
Yeah, of course. But what I'm saying, the things that relate to our criterion of disqualification are not met with the Prophet Muhammad, correct? And with the Quran.
Particular thing? No.
Right. So,
However, in terms of disloyalty,
Yeah.
that could be something that could possibly be a matter of contention.
tell me how.
For example,
Yeah.
God commanded the Jewish people to observe the Shabbos, like the Sabbath.
Yes.
Part of that observance is we're not allowed to fast on the Sabbath because, as it says in Isaiah, the Sabbath is to be an enjoyment, right? And the issue would be if a Jew were to accept the Quran, right, to accept Muhammad, if that is true, then according to that law, he will have to fast Ramadan. And if he has to fast Ramadan, that will not suddenly disappear for Shabbos. Shabbos will have to,
No, but
will have to fast on. That is
you right now.
disloyal to God.
Let me tell you something. What you're doing now is you're dictating to God what rules should apply when they should apply.
I'm not dictating.
No, because let me ask you a question. If in the second coming of the Messiah, or the coming of the Messiah, sorry, that you believe in, right? You believe the Messiah will come.
Yes, the Messiah will come.
You believe that?
Yes.
You believe it will be a second coming, you believe it will be the first coming.
Indeed.
But that's something else. But if the Messiah, if you're assured that Messiah is from God,
Yes.
and he tells you of something which you might not have seen in the biblical texts, right? Would you reject him?
Well, if he was somebody who is telling us things that contradict that what came before him, then we would not accept him.
Now, what
He
I'm
would
saying,
not
no,
be
hold on.
Messiah. If he's coming to us and telling us things we didn't know before,
Where does it say in the Old Testament that every single law cannot be abrogated?
I'll get this.
Because let me ask you a question.
Yes,
Before you get there, let me ask you a question. Look at me. Abraham, you have a story, we have a story, it's the same story. In the Quran, it's narrated, that Abraham said to his son, إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ فِي الْمَنَامِ إِنِّي أَذْبَحُكَ فَانْظُرْ مَاذَا تَرَى. He said to his son, I saw in my dream that I was meant to slaughter you, so tell me what to do. He said, oh my father, if'al ma tu'mar, do whatever you have been commanded to do. Okay? Now you believe in the story, I believe in the story, correct?
Yes.
What did God tell Abraham to do?
To offer him up as an elevation offer.
Okay, and did he do that?
He offered him, he was not accepted.
No. Did he end up slaughtering his son?
He wasn't commanded to slaughter his son.
What was he commanded to do?
Offer him up as an
Okay,
elevation offer.
did he do it?
Yes, he did.
And he offered him, he slaughtered him.
No, he did not slaughter
So, all right,
him.
so-
He offered him.
Okay, but then what happened?
Then the angel came and told him, don't slaughter him.
Oh, great! Don't slaughter him. You just said
Yes.
it. Excellent. Hold on.
Slaughter him.
Listen.
He was never told to slaughter.
What's your name?
Josh.
Josh. Abraham. What was in his mind that he was meant to, what do you think?
Abraham thought that he was supposed to slaughter the son.
Right. Excellent.
Misunderstood.
No. Abraham thought that he was meant to slaughter the son.
Yes.
Then he was told that don't slaughter the son.
Yes.
In fact, take the sacrificial animal instead, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
We believe in this. You believe in this.
Yes.
All right. So the point is that you have two commands that the prophet Abraham, or we don't believe it's, the Old Testament doesn't say he's a prophet from what I remember.
It doesn't say call him a prophet.
Yeah, yeah.
However, the fact that God speaks to him,
Yeah.
gives him prophecies,
No problem.
makes him a
Yeah,
prophet.
no, I'm not saying he isn't. We believe he
Yeah.
is. We believe he is. But I'm just trying to be specific here.
Jolly good.
Now, when he offered the ram, if he were to have an attitude similar to that you have, he would say, no, I will not do what the angel said, because I have already been commanded what? I have already been commanded to do X, and I'm going to slaughter the son.
Right.
But so what I'm saying is, I asked you a question. When the Messiah comes back, and if he tells you something which is, in your understanding, extra Talmudic or extra biblical, something which you haven't seen before, or you may not understand, you said you won't follow him. What I'm saying is, this is the problem exactly. Because if Abraham had the same attitude as you, he would be among those who reject God. But he didn't. He followed the angel. So the idea that you're hung up on the Sabbath, but what I'm saying is, God is within his right to give commandments and injunctions. It doesn't contradict the majesty of God to give commands and injunctions in one place and time which differ from commands and injunctions from another place and time. So what you're describing as disloyalty is in fact ironically itself disloyalty, because if this was disloyalty, then the angel would have been disloyal and Abraham would have been disloyal. It's
not though. The reason is twofold, because there's two things to unpack here. First of all, with regards to Abraham was told, offer him up, right? The word Hebrew is ha'alehu la'olah, right? Offer him up as an elevation offering. And the angel does not then tell him, don't offer him up as an elevation offering. He tells him, don't slaughter. At this point, Abraham will now understand correctly that when he was told, offer him up, that does not mean to slaughter. Now he is being clarified by the angel to not slaughter. He originally thought he was supposed to slaughter. The angel has now clarified to him, no, don't slaughter. Don't slaughter.
Abraham received the commandment from God. Yes. He understood it in a certain way. And then he was he was given clarification according to what you've said from the angel. Yes. But what makes him, he's a prophet, what makes him take the angel as an authority that gives him information about revelation?
Because as a prophet, having a revelation with an angel of God, he's going to know what the angel of God is telling him is the original intention.
Great.
Of God.
Now this is exactly the point we are making. We are saying the angel of...
I'm not a prophet.
I know you're not.
If the Messiah comes, if a man comes, because we believe the Messiah is going to be a man, if a man comes and says, let's say, now you're allowed to eat camels, right? Right, then I'll say, no, we're not. God said we're not allowed to eat camels. He specifically said to not eat camels.
Yeah. Well, what if he says, well, you've understood it. You've understood it incorrectly, because what God really meant is that you're not allowed to eat camels for this time period at this time, and that I've been given the authority from the angel, or I've been given authority from God, and you haven't. So if you look, I want you to understand something. If Abraham had your attitude, he would not have followed the commandment not to slaughter his son.
That's the difference. He's a prophet, and he knows the angel is talking to him.
So, beautiful.
I'm not a prophet.
Excellent. So a prophet can make those concessions.
A prophet can make that concession.
Excellent.
Because he's had a revelation from an angel.
Excellent. Perfect. You see what you just said there?
I, as another person.
Great.
Like if Abraham had told that to somebody else.
Look. What you just said there is all I need to hear. You said a prophet.
Of course it is.
Oh wait, yes. You said a prophet can make that concession because he's been given revelation from the angel.
But if he tells that to somebody
and
else,
it would not be disloyalty if that is the case, right?
That would be disloyalty.
It wouldn't be, no. Excellent. So this is what we're saying. Remember, the Islamic narrative. Listen, what's your name again, bro?
Josh.
Josh. Sorry, I'm sorry. Josh, what you've just said there is the end of this particular segment, because that's all I needed to hear.
Of course.
I think we have solved and ironed out this point now, because the Islamic claim is this: the Prophet Mohammed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we believe that he came, after Moses, after Jesus, and he was given revelation from the angel.
Right.
And we believe that this revelation provided clarification, and it also provided filtration. Listen, for what was in the previous dispensations, because the idea is that not everything in this book was preserved. And look, we don't need to go into this discussion. But the idea is not everything in this book was preserved.
37 Quran has not been preserved.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Not everything is.
37 Quran.
Yeah, I thought it was 51. Anyway.
There are holes in the narrative.
Yo, we're having a good conversation here. Can you take your shit and go somewhere else?
Yeah, okay. So, do you see the point?
I watched your thing,
Stop
man.
asking, please.
I watched your thing with Yasser. That was very silly of you. Asking that question.
Yeah, maybe you're right about that. You know.
I watched it. I thought, what are you doing? You're giving a lot of fire to the guys. If he doesn't give you an answer, there's going to be a lot of problems.
Listen, this is aside the point. Let's stick with the subject matter, all right?
Can we listen?
Now,
Can
we've said the 2 points. We'll go back to it. You mentioned 3. You mentioned that he has to call to the God of Moses. Then you mentioned that it can't be disloyal to God.
Yes.
And that if he is getting revelation from an angel, this is not seen as disloyalty. We talked about that.
That's not what okay, let me clarify. When I say talking to an angel is not disloyalty, what I'm talking about is why should I believe, right, that you are a true prophet or a false prophet? If you say an angel told me that the way you've always understood something is wrong, right? I don't have necessarily a reason to believe that you're a true prophet. But if you're told from an angel that something you've understood something wrong, right? Then you absolutely should be listening to what the angel tells you.
All right, excellent.
You know the angel of God.
Right.
But I don't know that you've spoken to the
No.
angel of God.
That's why we're looking at the other criterion. So the other criteria says that if he speaks of an oracle, prediction of the future.
But before we get to that,
yes,
because I did say it was twofold.
Right.
I gave one.
Yes. Okay.
Right.
The other one about
the second thing. About,
yes.
About
the God of Moses.
The Sabbath.
The Sabbath we've already spoken about.
Because I was about to bring you a verse that I ended up bringing.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, go ahead.
So in Exodus chapter 34, I think. Let's get it up. Hold on.
By the way, can I just say something, Josh, before you get the verse?
Yes.
That everything in the Bible, for us, is not evidentiary. Okay.
That's true.
I want you to know that, because what it is that it's been it's established. No, I believe. Sorry,
Muslims.
It has been no. It has been established. No, actually, no. It has been established beyond reasonable doubt that the book that you're holding in your hand, okay, has been omitted. Things have been omitted from it.
Established by who?
By who?
By whom? By a consensus of text critics.
By who?
No, just
Welthausen.
Listen.
Just a question.
Let me.
Brackets. Sorry, mate. Just one question.
Yeah. Fine.
If I take this book from here and I go and get the same book, your Torah, in South Africa or in America, they'll be different.
No, they won't.
They will.
No, they won't. Go and
Josh,
find out.
let me ask you a question. Look at me, Josh. Look at me.
It's not a different language.
Look at me, Josh.
It's not a different language.
How do they?
It hasn't been changed.
You're a clever man, yeah?
Yes.
You're a clever man as well. Come here. Instead of heckling, come here.
I'm not heckling. I'm asking you a question. You don't believe in the God.
Just come.
You don't believe
If you need his help,
What do you believe in Moses?
You don't believe in Moses.
Yeah, we do believe in Moses.
You
yes.
don't believe in the Moses of the
Okay.
Bible.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Telling me for what I believe. You're very intelligent. You're very. You're not straw manning me at all. Okay.
Before we get sidetracked, before we get on to the sidetrack,
No,
just
Josh.
read the verse.
No. Before you do so, let me just. I was just in the middle of saying something. Of course, you can read the verse. Let me just say one point, and then you can say your point. Because remember, I'm being heckled by somebody. Yeah.
Sure.
Now, what I want to say to you is this. Now, you know, and I know that the Old Testament. I'm not going to look at the New Testament for a second, because that's another kettle of fish altogether. Yeah. The Old Testament, when they decide what to put in and what to take out, how do they decide? They look at the Septuagint. They look at the Masoretic text. They look at the Dead Sea Scrolls. Correct?
Wait, who?
Who? Text critics.
Oh, the text critics.
Yeah,
Right.
the people who
The secularists, the text critics.
No, not just.
Dead Sea Scrolls.
Wait, hold on.
In 1940. So how the Old Testament?
Hold on. Calm down for a second. Calm down, please. Calm down.
Are you Jew?
When in this particular version of your Bible, yeah, the JPS that you've mentioned,
Yes.
have you looked at how they've decided to put in